When Sarah noticed her massive St. Bernard Duke gently picking up her 6-month-old daughter, Emma, and carrying her to the same corner of the living room for the 3rd time that morning, she thought it was adorable. But when the dog refused to stop, even becoming anxious and insistent, she realized something was terribly wrong. What she discovered in that corner would save her daughter's life. If you love incredible true stories about dogs saving lives, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Sarah Mitchell had always loved large dogs. When she and her husband James moved into their home in Pittsburgh 3 years ago, adopting a St. Bernard puppy seemed perfect. They named him Duke, and he quickly grew into a gentle giant, weighing over 160 pounds, with the classic St. Bernard temperament, calm, patient, and incredibly gentle. When Sarah became pregnant, some friends expressed concern about having such a large dog around a newborn, but Sarah never worried. Duke was extraordinarily careful around children, seeming to understand his own size and strength. Emma was born on a crisp October morning. When Sarah brought Emma home from the hospital, Duke approached the car seat slowly, sniffing carefully. From that moment on, he appointed himself as Emma's personal guardian. He would lie beside Emma's crib during nap times and follow Sarah whenever she carried the baby from room to room. Then, on a Tuesday morning in late April, when Emma was 6 months old, something changed. Sarah was working at her desk while Emma played on her activity mat in the living room. Duke was lying beside Emma, supervising. About 20 minutes into her work, Sarah heard Duke's collar jingling in an unusual pattern. She looked up to see the St. Bernard gently gripping the back of Emma's onesie with his mouth. Duke carefully lifted the baby and began walking toward the far corner of the living room, near the exterior wall. "Duke, no!" Sarah called out, jumping from her chair. But Duke ignored her, something he never did. He carried Emma to the corner, set her down gently, and positioned his massive body between the baby and the rest of the room, looking back at Sarah with an intense, almost pleading expression. Sarah quickly scooped up Emma and carried her back to the activity mat, giving Duke a stern look. Duke whined softly, but lay back down. 15 minutes later, it happened again. Duke stood up, carefully gripped Emma's onesie, lifted her, and walked directly to the same corner. He set her down in the exact same spot, then positioned himself as a barrier again. Sarah decided to put Emma in her bouncer seat in the office, where she could watch her more closely. Duke followed, but his eyes kept darting toward the living room, toward that corner. Sarah stared at the corner, trying to understand. It was just a corner with a side table, a lamp, and a small potted plant. Everything looked completely normal. An hour passed. After feeding Emma upstairs, Sarah brought her back down. The moment she set Emma down in the living room, Duke sprang into action again. This time he was even more insistent. He picked Emma up and rushed to the corner, moving faster than before. He set her down and then began pawing at the baseboard near the floor, scratching at it with his large paw. He whined loudly, looked at Sarah, then scratched the baseboard again. Sarah's frustration transformed into genuine concern. Duke was trying to tell her something. She called James at work and explained Duke's behavior. Could there be something in the wall, like an animal? James suggested. Sarah checked, but saw nothing unusual from the window. James said he'd come home early, around 3 o'clock. Sarah moved the side table and examined the wall carefully. The paint looked fine, no cracks, no water stains. She knocked on the wall. Everything seemed normal. She decided to call her father, who had been a contractor for 40 years. She explained Duke's behavior in detail.
Before we continue our story, let's take just 5 seconds. If this story is touching your heart, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us because many more beautiful stories are coming. Thank you, my dear friend. Now, let us continue.
Her father was quiet for a moment. You said the corner is on an exterior wall, and Duke is scratching at the baseboard specifically.
Yes.
Sarah, I don't want to alarm you, but I think you should call the gas company right now. Duke might be smelling a gas leak. Dogs can smell it at much lower concentrations than humans. Call the gas company emergency line immediately and get out of the house. Sarah's blood ran cold. She immediately dialed the gas company's emergency number. Ma'am, I'm dispatching a crew to your location immediately. Evacuate the house right now. Do not turn on or off any lights. Get at least 50 feet away from the structure. Sarah scooped up Emma, grabbed the diaper bag, and called Duke. They rushed outside to the front lawn. Within 12 minutes, a gas company emergency vehicle pulled up. 2 technicians jumped out with detection equipment. Ma'am, can you show me exactly where the dog was indicating? One asked. Sarah pointed to the window corresponding to the corner inside. The technicians walked around the exterior with their gas detection meters. After a few minutes, the technician returned. Ma'am, we're picking up readings. There's definitely natural gas escaping somewhere in that area. Sarah called James, her voice shaking. James, there's actually a gas leak. Duke was right. The technicians spent nearly an hour working. Eventually, they returned with serious expressions. Mrs. Mitchell, we found the problem. You have a crack in your gas line inside the wall, right where your dog was indicating. The gas has been leaking for at least a day, maybe more. If it had continued for another day or 2, any spark could have caused an explosion. Your dog likely saved your lives, ma'am. Dogs can smell natural gas at concentrations as low as 1 part per million.
Sarah knelt down and wrapped her arm around Duke's massive neck. Good boy, Duke. Such a good boy. James arrived shortly after and embraced his family. When he heard the full story, he bent down to Duke. You magnificent dog, you saved my girls. The technicians worked for another 3 hours replacing the damaged gas line. Finally, they gave the all clear. The house is safe, but please consider getting gas detectors for every floor, and maybe get that dog a steak. That evening, after Emma was asleep and Duke had enjoyed a large steak dinner, Sarah and James sat together, exhausted but grateful. Duke had detected danger that could have killed them all and refused to give up until someone listened. The next day, the local news ran a story about Duke the hero St. Bernard. The phone rang constantly with calls from reporters. Duke became a local celebrity, though he seemed uninterested in the attention. He was just happy to have his family safe. If you loved this incredible story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing animal rescue stories. Drop a comment below and tell us about a time your pet did something incredible. Ring that notification bell so you never miss our next heartwarming story.